Mikey the Rad Scientist has been performing nature and science inspired music for children for over 10 years now. And during the quarantine, Mikey teamed up with partner Kaylee Cole, together, two of the most loveliest people, and they have been providing a super fun science themed live streaming show that was featured on King 5 News, Evening Magazine, and Inside Seattle Child Magazine. The show is super popular with kids and parents, and it's really, let's put it like this. We are all virtual, obviously, and perhaps you want to have something that's a little bit more interactive and just kind of wild and fun, super fun, because we all know that being virtual sometimes is just a drab. So here is something for you to just really pick it up for you and the family. And on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays at 11:30, you can tune in on Facebook and check out Mikey the Rad Scientist, and really just get your whole fix. So give it up for my friend, Mikey the Rad Scientist.
Hey, I'm Mikey the Rad Scientist, and I want to show you how to make your very own worm bin so that you can start creating really, really healthy, great soil right at home from your food scraps. But first, here's a little bit about the biology of the worm. Check it out.
All right, so here they are. And these worms are red wigglers. They are specifically adapted to live in the decaying plant matter underneath trees. And check it out, there's one in action right now. Those bands and lines along the worm are each called individual segments. And if we could really zoom in, we'd be able to see that each of those has little bristles or hairs called setae on them. And that's how the worm can kind of push itself along through the soil. So here's an adult worm, and you can see that little bulge around the center. That's called the clitellum, and that is how they reproduce. And all worms have that, so all worms have the ability to make babies. 2 worms can make 100 babies in 1 year, so they can really multiply rapidly. This little yellow thing right there is called the cocoon, and the worms sort of create that around that bulging clitellum, and then they squeeze out of it, and as they do, they lay their eggs inside of there, and there could be a few baby worms developing inside of this cocoon right now.
Okay, so all you're gonna need in order to make your own worm bin is a container with holes in the bottom. Have an adult poke some holes into the bottom. You're going to need some newspaper. Make sure that you get the newspaper that's kind of rough feeling and not the shiny kind of feeling newspaper. They don't like this as much. They like this rough stuff. And you're going to take your newspaper and you're going to find the folded edge, and you're going to rip right down there until the newspaper turns into lots of little strips, like so. And you want them to be about 1 inch wide. And you're going to want to separate those strips of paper so they're all nice and fluffy. And just keep ripping until you filled up about twice the amount of space that your container has, because in the next step we're going to get these newspaper clippings all wet. Okay, so next take a bucket of water and put all your newspaper clippings into it, and then take an equal amount of dried leaves as your newspaper clippings and add those into the bucket too. Next, mix and dunk until the water is completely soaking the newspaper and the leaves. And you can add, if you need to add a few more leaves or a little bit more newspaper, now's a good time to do that. This is going to be the bedding that your worms live in. And worms need to have moist skin in order to breathe. They actually breathe through their skin. So you want to make sure this is nice and soaking wet. Pretty fun project for a hot day. Then you take your bedding and you wring it out so that it's about as wet as a damp sponge. And then you simply add it to your worm bin. Fill it up all the way to the very top. And once you have it just the way that you want it, then you can introduce your worms to their new home. Here, guys, have fun. And they will start to do their business. But they won't do that without food. Worms love to eat just about everything that we don't, such as onion skins, corn husks, old stuff that's gone beyond its prime, like this poor tomato here. And they really love coffee grounds, so if you add some coffee grounds. And they eat eggshells too. So you want to kind of feed the worms and then cover up all of that food with more bedding. And I like to cover up the whole thing with a bit of wet cardboard so that they don't dry out, because worms, remember, need to breathe through their skin so that they can be alive and healthy and happy. Put your lid on your container and you are ready to go. Here's a bin that we started 3 months ago, and you can see that it's already starting to turn into soil. How fast it goes depends on the temperature, but I bet in about 3 more months, this thing will be completely filled with really great compost, ready to go into the garden. I think it's so cool that worms can help out and reduce the amount of garbage that we put into the landfills. And not only that, but they help create this beautiful, rich soil that we can use to grow wonderful food and complete the cycle. Like, imagine you grew a beautiful ear of corn and you barbecued it up and you ate it and it was delicious. And then you fed the corn husks to the worms and they turned it back into soil. And the next year you grew some more corn. So it creates this big, beautiful cycle, and it's something that you can do in your very own backyard. So I hope you enjoy, have fun with this, and we'll see you next time. I'm Mikey the Rad Scientist. Thanks so much. Bye.